Jake opened his eyes to a strange glowing ceiling. The air smelled like metal and flowers. His body felt heavy, but nothing hurt. As he tried to sit up, soft blue restraints held his arms in place. "Do not move." "You are safe," said a calm but cold voice. Jake turned his head. Standing near him was a tall alien woman with violet skin and silver eyes. Her long black hair was braided tightly behind her. She wore a form-fitting uniform that looked like armor and a lab coat mixed together. "Who are you?" Jake asked. Confused, "My name is Surreal. I am a scientist and a warrior of the Valtharan Empire. You were selected from Earth as part of the breeding exchange program." Jake's eyes widened. "Wait, breeding? What are you talking about?" She blinked slowly, as if he had asked something strange. "Your DNA matches high-value genetic traits. You are healthy, strong, emotionally stable. You will breed with me. It is the law." Jake struggled in his restraints. "What? You kidnapped me to be some kind of breeder?" Surreal tilted her head slightly. "Not kidnapped. Collected. Earth agreed to participate. Your leader signed the contract. You were chosen." "I never agreed to this," Jake snapped. "Consent is not required on Valthara. The law decides. You are part of a genetic improvement project." Jake stared at her, heart pounding. "This is wrong." Surreal looked at him, confused. "Wrong? I do not understand." He took a breath, trying to calm down. "Where I'm from, breeding or mating, it's not just science. It's personal. It's about love, choice, not a lab order." Surreal frowned. "Love is an emotion. It clouds reason. My people do not believe in such things." "Well, I do," Jake said firmly, "and I'm not just going to do this because some alien law says so." Surreal walked closer. Her silver eyes stared into his. "You will change your mind. In time. All males do," she said simply. "I won't," Jake said, refusing to look away. She stared at him for a long moment. Then, without emotion, she pressed a button. The restraints vanished. "You are free to walk within this research facility. Food and water are available. Escape is impossible. I will return tomorrow for first contact." Jake stood up slowly, testing his legs. He felt strong, but watched her carefully. "You think I'm just going to go along with this?" "You will," Surreal said, "because no one else is coming for you. This is your new life now." With that, she turned and left. The door sealed behind her with a hiss. Jake explored the facility. It was bright, clean, and cold. The walls were smooth like glass but harder than steel. He found a room with food strange, but edible. Another room had a bed, a shower, and clothes. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. It felt like a golden prison. There were no windows, no clocks, just silence. That night, as Jake lay on the bed, he kept thinking about Surreal. She was beautiful in a way he didn't expect, sharp and elegant. But she was also cold, like she didn't understand feelings at all. The next morning, the door opened again. Surreal walked in holding a data tablet. "I have reviewed your Earth mating customs," she said. "I believe I understand now. You want to feel something." Jake sat up. "Yes, it's not about just making babies. It's about connection, about trust, about choice." "I was bred in a chamber," Surreal said. "My mother never met my father. I was raised by caretakers. We do not know these things you speak of." Jake looked at her with pity. "That's sad." She repeated the word like it was foreign. "No, it is efficient. Maybe, but it's not human." Surreal stepped closer. "I want to understand. Why?" Jake asked, raising an eyebrow. "Because something happened yesterday. When you refused. I felt something. I don't know what it was, but it was not normal. My heart rate increased. My temperature rose. It disturbed me." Jake smiled faintly. "That's called emotion. It's messy, but real. I want to study this more, she said. Not in a lab, but with you. Jake narrowed his eyes. You're saying you want to understand emotion through me? Yes. Then I'm not going to be your lab rat. I'll help you. But on one condition. What? No touching. No mating. Not until you understand what it really means. Sariel hesitated. Then she nodded. I accept. But you will stay close. I must observe everything. Jake crossed his arms. Fine, but I'm not your tool. She gave the smallest nod, then turned away, but Jake saw it, for the first time. Her lips twitched, almost like a smile. Sariel had never heard laughter before. Not the forced chuckles of data officers, not the fake giggles of politicians, but real, full human laughter. And now, it echoed through her sterile research chamber like a strange, warm virus. She stood outside the observation room, staring at the screen. Inside, Jake sat alone with a small cube-shaped device. It was a holographic projector. Instead of studying her lab's settings or researching escape, Jake had somehow hacked it to play old Earth comedies. And now, he was laughing, loud, free, alive. She didn't understand when Sariel entered. Jake looked up and smiled. You ever try laughing? It's good for the soul. I have no soul, she replied without emotion. We removed such ideas generations ago, Jake shrugged. Then you're missing out. She walked over and sat across from him at the table. I came to study your emotional behavior. Begin. Jake raised an eyebrow. Wow, no hello, no good morning, just begin? That is how research starts, she replied, blinking. Jake leaned forward with a grin. All right, Doc, first lesson. Humans don't begin with data. We begin with connection. Connection? She repeated. Yeah, talking, joking, sharing food, looking someone in the eyes. It's about trust. Trust is inefficient, but it's real. He stood up, grabbed something from the shelf, and placed it in front of her. It was a flower, not real, but crafted from soft cloth, probably from his sleeping blanket. I made this, Jake said. For you. Sariel looked at the crude object, unsure. Why? Because where I'm from, when someone gives you something without asking for anything back, it means they see you as more than just a role, not just a scientist, not just a breeder, but as you. Sariel stared at the flower. Her fingers touched it gently. Warmth, softness. It made no sense. Later that day, she returned to her private lab. She scanned the flower, tested its fibers, checked its temperature. But nothing explained the strange warmth she felt in her chest. She even scanned her own brain, elevated dopamine, faster pulse, muscle tension in the neck. She whispered to herself, this must be manipulation, or could it be the beginning of something new? The next day, Jake was waiting in the room with 2 cups of a brown drink. It's cocoa, he said. Earth comfort drink. It won't kill you. She hesitated, then took the cup. The warmth spread through her fingers. Jake raised his cup. Cheers. Cheers, she repeated flatly, copying him. They sipped in silence. But not awkward silence. It was peaceful. Then Jake said, I don't think you're a cold machine. I think someone taught you to hide your feelings. Or punish them. Sariel looked down. My people do not feel love or joy or desire. We breed to serve the Empire, not ourselves. That's sad, Jake said quietly. No, that is duty. He leaned forward again. Duty doesn't mean throwing away your heart. She stood up suddenly, stepping back. Enough for today. But before she left, Jake said, you can walk away, Sariel. But your heart already started to feel something. That's why you're scared. She paused at the door. I am not afraid. But her hand was trembling. That night, Sariel couldn't sleep. Her body temperature had risen again. Her breathing was uneven. She played back Jake's laughter, again and again, trying to understand why the sound made her chest tighten. Was this human sickness, or something more? She returned to the flower on her desk, and for the first time in her life, she didn't scan it. She simply held it and closed her eyes. Surreal stood in front of the mirror, something she rarely did. Valtherans didn't care about appearance. Beauty had no purpose in science or war. Yet today, she was adjusting the way her braid fell over her shoulder. Just slightly, and she hated herself for it. Why? She asked the reflection. Why do I care how I look to him? The mirror didn't answer, but her heart did. She entered the lounge area with her usual cold posture. But Jake noticed the difference right away. You look less like a guard today, he teased. Surreal tilted her head. I have not changed my armor, maybe not your clothes. But your face, Jake said with a gentle smile. It looks more human. She felt a sudden warmth in her stomach. That was new. Your smile, she whispered. It does something to me. It makes my mind soft. Jake chuckled. That's a good thing, Surreal. That means you're starting to feel, but I am losing control. No, you're gaining something your people lost long ago. Surreal sat down across from him again. This had become their new daily ritual. But today, Jake had brought something. New, a small tablet with old earth music. He played a soft melody, and as the tune filled the air, Surreal's eyes widened. What is this strange sound? It's called music, Jake said. This one is about missing someone you care about. She listened closely. The notes were simple, but they hit her like waves, emotions. Inside music, I feel pressure in my chest, she whispered. But there is no wound. Jake smiled softly. That's called emotion. And you're not broken. You're just waking up. After a long silence, Surreal finally said, Tell me about love. Jake looked surprised. Why? Because when you smile at me, I feel something I do not understand. It makes my thoughts ... slow. But I do not wish for it to stop. Jake leaned back. Love isn't just a feeling. It's a choice. It's the decision to care for someone even when they don't make sense, even when it hurts, even when it's not required. Surreal blinked slowly. That is not efficient. He nodded. Exactly. That night Surreal returned to her private chamber and opened a hidden file, one she had never dared open before. Inside it was her childhood profile. A test result, long ignored. It said, subject shows signs of emotional potential. Must be monitored for weakness. She closed the file. For years, she had buried that truth. She wasn't broken now. She had always been different. But now she finally saw it not as weakness, but something precious, something human. The next day, Jake was waiting again. This time he had a small gift. It was a ring made from bent metal, simple, but shaped like a heart. For me? Surreal asked. He nodded. Where I'm from, you give something like this to someone you care about. She stared at it for a long moment, then slipped it onto her finger. It is imperfect, she said. Yeah, Jake smiled. So am I. She looked up at him, eyes wide, and for the first time, Surreal smiled back. Surreal's fingers hovered over the red button on the wall. If she pressed it, the AI would scan her heart rate, hormones, and brain waves. It would give her answers, cold, clear numbers to explain why her thoughts were full of one human face. But this time, she didn't want numbers. She wanted to feel. She pulled her hand back. Jake was watching old Earth movies again when she entered. This one was black and white. A man and a woman were kissing in the rain. Surreal sat down silently, eyes fixed on the screen. Why do they press their lips together? She asked. Jake smiled. That's called a kiss. I know the term, but what is the purpose? Jake paused the video. Sometimes there's no purpose. A kiss isn't about logic, it's about emotion. It says something without using words. She turned to him, curious. What does it say? Jake's eyes met hers. It says, I care about you, I want to be close to you. I see you, not just your body. Surreal blinked. Her breath caught for a second. Then, without a word, she stood and walked to him. I want to try, she said. Jake stood up slowly. Are you sure? No, she whispered. But I want to know what it says. She stepped closer, just inches from him. Jake leaned in gently, not rushing. His lips brushed hers, soft, patient, kind. For a moment, time disappeared. Then Cecile gasped. Her body shook. Heat rushed through her chest, down her arms, into her stomach. Her legs nearly gave out. Her hands grabbed his arms for balance. What is this? She asked, breathing fast. Why is my body on fire? Jake steadied her. It's okay. That's desire. That's emotion. You're not dying. But I cannot think. I cannot focus. This is chaos. Jake laughed softly. Yeah, that's how it starts. Surreal rushed out of the room. She locked herself inside her lab and scanned her entire body. Heart rate, 160 BPM. Brain activity, unstable. Adrenaline, high. No poison, no virus, just feelings. She stared at the scan in disbelief. What has he done to me? She whispered, but part of her already knew. He didn't break her. He awakened her. That night, she watched the movie again, alone this time. When the rain kiss came again, she didn't pause it. She simply touched her lips and smiled. Surreal stood before the Empire's gene chamber, the same place where she was born. Rows of glowing tanks lined the walls, filled with tiny life forms. Floating inside artificial wombs, there was no warmth here. No laughter. Just silence and science. This was what her people called creation. She pressed her hand to the glass. I was made to serve, she whispered. But now, I want something else. Back in her quarters, Surreal found Jake fixing the broken projector. He glanced up. You've been gone a while. I went to the gene chamber, she said quietly. Jake paused. To prepare for breeding? Surreal shook her head. I went to say goodbye. He blinked. What? She stepped closer, her voice softer than ever before. I was raised to believe mating was only for making children. That we are tools for the future. But now, I do not want a baby. She looked into his eyes. I want you. Jake was silent for a long moment. Then he said, Surreal, that's not something you say unless you truly mean it. I have never meant anything more. Jake took a deep breath. Do you understand what that means, though? Wanting someone, not just for a task or a law, but because they make your heart full? She nodded slowly. Yes, I feel it every time you laugh. Every time you look at me and see more than a Valtheran. Later that night, they sat together in silence, side by side. Jake handed her a small wooden carving, a heart, smooth and handmade. I made this for you. Surreal ran her fingers across it. It is warm, even though it is not alive. That's what love is, Jake said. It's giving something of yourself, even if it's small. The next day, Surreal made a bold move. She went to the council hall and stood before the high elders. I will not complete the genetic exchange, she said. The room fell silent. You must, one elder said. It is law. I refuse. Because what I want cannot be grown in a chamber or forced in a lab. She took a breath. I want love. The council stared in shock. No Valtheran has spoken this word in over 1,000 years. One hissed. Then it's time we remember what it means, she said. Asterisk. The silence inside the grand hall was louder than any war Surreal had ever fought. 12 Valtheran elders stared down at her from their cold silver seats, their eyes glowing with anger, confusion, and fear. No one had ever challenged the breeding law. No one had ever dared speak of love in this sacred place. And yet, here stood Surreal, tall and proud, her fingers still wrapped around the wooden heart Jake had carved for her. Elder Vorak slammed his staff against the floor. You were chosen for the Empire's future. not for personal weakness. This is not weakness, Surreal replied calmly. It is evolution. Elder Near hissed. You were a top geneticist, a soldier, and now you speak like a primitive. This human has infected your mind. Surreal. Step forward. No, he has opened it. Behind her, guards raised their weapons. Jake, who stood just outside the chamber's edge, tensed, but Surreal raised a hand. I am still Valfarin, she said. But I will not be your tool. You will either breed or be erased, another elder barked. Then erase me, she said. But know this, there are others like me, silent, afraid, waiting for someone to stand up. She tossed the wooden heart onto the floor in front of them. This is more powerful than your laws. In the shadows, a younger council assistant watched with wide eyes. She touched her own chest as if something inside had shifted. One seed had been planted. As the guards moved forward, Surreal turned to Jake. Run, she said softly, but Jake stepped toward her instead. I won't leave you. Their hands met. The room gasped. Between human and Valfarin in front of the council was forbidden. Too late. The bond had already formed. Surreal and Jake were arrested, but not taken to the punishment chambers. Instead, they were quietly moved to a faraway exile ship. The council feared public attention. They feared others might begin to feel what Surreal felt. But inside their cold exile cell, as the ship drifted into the stars, Surreal smiled. We lost our home. Jake said softly. No, she whispered. We're going to make a new one. Asterisk. The stars outside the exile ship were cold and distant, like the world Surreal had left behind. But inside the small cabin, the air was warm with something new. Hope. Surreal looked out the window, watching swirling colors of a distant nebula. She turned to Jake, who was quietly repairing a small device. This place, it feels different. Like a chance to be something new. Jake smiled without looking up. Because it is. She stepped closer, fingers brushing his arm. Do you think the council will ever understand? Jake shook his head. Maybe not, but that doesn't matter anymore. We're free to choose. Together, they explored the strange planet the ship was heading to. Its sky was a deep purple, with soft glowing plants and gentle rains that sang on the rocks. For the first time, Surreal held Jake's hand not because of law or duty, but because she wanted to, and in that touch, she felt something she never had before. Freedom. Days passed, and Surreal learned to laugh without fear. She tasted new foods, felt warm sunlight on her skin, and discovered that pleasure was not shameful, it was part of life. Jake showed her how to dance under alien stars, how to dream with open eyes, and how to love without limits. One evening, Surreal recorded a message on a small transmitter. Her voice was soft but strong. To my people back home, procreation kept our species alive. But love will make us thrive. She sent the message, hoping it would reach Valfra someday. As the stars shimmered outside, Surreal and Jake sat close. No laws, no fear. Just two souls, connected by choice. Surreal whispered, Thank you for changing my world. Jake smiled. No, thank you for teaching me what it means to truly live.